All right, got myself a mini microphone. Feeling pretty cool about it too, so watch out. Today's topic, we're going to be discussing the difference between quality of life and quantity of years lived, and how a year, sorry, a lifetime lived, say even if it was only 50 years long, in a state of the highest quality would be much more worth it to anybody who lived to 100 years who lived without the same quality of life. See, because I have this argument come up to me in conversation all the time, because no matter where I go, I'm usually the healthiest person there because I'm eating the right foods, I'm thinking the right thoughts, I'm actually taking the steps to create a life that I want to live, for another thing. So there's an aspect of the spirit which is also more radiant. But as well, I'm drinking the right water, and people will always see me carrying around my bag of Kangen water. And I'll always get asked questions. So, for example, I started a new job a couple months ago, right? And, I have my bag with me, and naturally, everybody's focus turns to what the hell is that? And so, I started to, I wouldn't try to just press information on anybody. I would just say, oh, it's water. And they'd say, oh, what kind of water? And I'd say, it's magic water. And like, what does that mean? And then I'd start to kind of unravel a little bit further just to see, well, what kind of questions are you willing to ask to learn about it? And based on that, I will give you the information, because as I've said in previous videos, I don't just like to dump information on people. I don't feel that that's fair. I don't feel that that's right. And then you might say, well, what are you doing in these videos? Well, this is a different circumstance. By you sitting here and listening to me, you're agreeing to have this conversation with me. Just for the haters out there, because I know there's probably going to be a few. Anyways, so a few questions that I would get asked when I told them they asked me how much is the machine. And at the time that I bought it, I believe it was about $5,500 Canadian. And now it's about $6,500. And, I told them this. I told them I paid $6,000 for the water machine. And see, without knowing anything about the water or why I made the decision to purchase the machine, they decided to basically attack me. They started to laugh, like, you paid that much for a water machine? Oh, that's ridiculous. I would buy so many other things with that money. And it's like, man, if you had the understanding that I have of what the water machine does, and you had the money, you would purchase the machine as well. I actually broke it down to one of the guys because he brought it up multiple times that he couldn't believe that I paid so much for a water machine. And so, we're sitting there one day on our break, and he brings it up again. This was probably the 5th time. And I just stopped. I put my food down. I looked at him and I said, okay, why did you purchase your truck? And he goes, I don't know, I thought it was a good deal for it. I said, okay, well, what things about the truck made you want to buy it? And he goes, well, it's rust free, it has good mileage, it's in good shape. And I said, okay. So in other words, there are certain qualities to this machine that you find value in, enough so to exchange the amount of money that was being asked for the machine. And he goes, yeah. And I said, all right, well, you continue to laugh at me putting value to the water machine and making that exchange, but you know absolutely nothing about why I value the machine. So it's pretty hard to make an actual judgment of whether or not it's a laughable thing, right? And he just goes, because fair point. But we do this all the time, and it's not like that person is a bad person for having done this. This is just an aspect of that matrix programming that we have where, it's really one of the main things the matrix programming does is it tries to cut us off from our curiosity. And so, I have these questions coming to me all the time, and they're, of course, not. It wasn't just this conversation about the water. I bring that up just because it sparked another person to say, after I started to get into more of the science behind Kangen water and why I value it so much. And I'll get into that in this video as well. And the person says to me, well, I'm alive and I haven't been drinking this water. I've been drinking regular tap water and I'm still alive. And, again, now that's a combative approach to a conversation. And so I just said, okay. Instead of saying, oh yeah, well, you know this and this and this and this, and your water's poison, and it's got fluoride, and it's got chlorine, and it's got atrazine, and it's got aluminum, and it's got and lead, and it's got all this stuff in it. I didn't just bombard them with that. I just said, okay. Because again, like if a person's not coming to you with questions, they're not looking to learn anything. You see? But of course, in the previous example of why I spoke up was because I decided that was a time where I needed to just stand up for the decision that I made and cut off the whole laughing about it thing, because it was starting to annoy me. And I felt that it was starting to cross a threshold for me. So I decided to put my foot down on it. Anyways, that argument of, well, I'm still alive is the dumbest argument that you could possibly make for why you aren't making better choices for your health. Because those things, okay. We have, oh man, there's so many things I could drop on you right now. Like, why don't you look at the autism rates and how many more babies are born with autism compared to, say, 30 years ago? Just go look at the trend on that. And then go and learn by Dr. Corrine that there is a direct link between heavy metals in the brain and autism. And then go and learn that there is titanium dioxide, there is lead, there is aluminum, there is all kinds of different metals in our drinking water and in our foods that should not be there, but they are, and we're consuming these things. Now, am I saying that corporations are intentionally making people autistic? No, I'm not saying that at all, okay? And there's a specific agenda behind it, of course. Oh, sorry, no. That's totally, these are all allegations. These are all, this is all speculation, of course. So, back to the point at hand. The whole argument of saying that, well, I'm still alive, it's incredibly stupid because, and I don't mean to be too harsh about it, but it just really, like, take a step back and please consider what I'm about to say. If you're one of these people who thinks that it's quantity over quality, well, I'm still alive, I haven't done any of this stuff, why should I do this stuff? Well, I'm about to give you the reason why, my friend. Because for one thing, when you're young, your body is still retaining the electrical charge in its cells necessary to have fast healing occur in the body and to stabilize your alkalinity levels and all of these different things. If you want to learn more about the electrical body or the electrical being, go and search up Dr. Jerry Tennant. Okay? And you know what? I'll go through this video and I'll include everybody who I'm going to mention in the description so that you can see I'm not just coming from my own opinion, I'm coming from validated scientific evidence as well, and respected doctors' opinions and research. So, where was I? Dr. Jerry Tennant, yes. So, but as you get older, you see all these things that we do to our bodies, the lack of exercise, the lack of proper breathing, the lack of proper water, the lack of proper food, the pesticides on the food, the heavy metals, the poisons, the chemicals, and everything in our air, and oh my goodness, and the stuff that we're wearing, for God's sakes. If you're not wearing natural clothing like wool or like cotton, and you're wearing all these polyester fibers and everything, they're actually taking away the electrons from your atoms for one thing, but they're also releasing chemicals that are poisoning you. You know what? Maybe I should put a red pill alert on this video too. Red pill alert, by the way. So these things, they don't necessarily have an effect on you immediately. It's a long game deal that we're looking at here, you see. But we're not trained to think about the long run in our lives anymore. We're trained to think about right here and right now, and I got to live the best life I can, which means I'm going to get drunk, which means I'm going to get high, which means I'm going to snort it, I'm going to do this, I'm going to fuck every woman I can, I'm going to do whatever I want whenever I want, and that's how I'm going to live. Well, that's a stupid way to look at life, man. It plain and simply just is. I mean, there is a time and a place to exercise those desires, you know, to just go out and be wild and go nuts. I totally get that there is a time in everybody's life where that is a thing to go and do, to have that experience. But just because drinking is a socially accepted thing in our civilization does not mean that it is good for you at all, and does not mean that it should be socially accepted. That stuff is pure poison. All alcohol is literally pure poison. For many reasons. Let's talk about a beer, just a simple beer. There's a few different components, and this is also going to relate to the water that I drink. So now we're going to get into a little more of the science about it. Beer is far below neutral on the pH scale. Depending on what brand you're drinking, you might be consuming a beverage that's anywhere from like a 4.5 acidity up to 6 something acidity, okay? Depending on the brand that you're drinking. So this is one thing to consider, and it's another thing to consider Dr. Otto Warburg, who won a Nobel Prize in 1931 for discovering that cancerous and diseased cells are acidic in their inside environment. So when you're consuming acidity, you're giving your body cancer, essentially. You're literally telling your body, I want to develop cancer, because this is the environment that you're now programming yourselves to exist in. So that's one thing. The other thing is the ORP measurement, the oxidation reduction potential. See, this is a measurement of how much electricity is within a liquid, okay? So basically what you can do is you can actually buy these sticks online. They're like little measuring devices. There's a probe that goes into the beverage, and then there's a reader attached to the end of the probe. So when you stick this thing into a glass of Kangen water, for example, what you're going to see is anywhere from -600 to -800 ORP, which is to say that there are quintillions of electrons inside of every glass. There's actually the equivalent of 5 pounds worth of blueberries antioxidant potential in a single glass of Kangen water. That's a pretty damn good selling point, right? One of the reasons why I bought the machine. And then you go ahead and you get on the plus side of this scale now. And the plus side, well, that sounds good, right? You know, you want to be in the positive. Well, not for an ORP reading. When you're in the positive, that means that there's actually a lack of electrons in the liquid or in the food or in the whatever it is that you're measuring with. And when there's a lack of electrons, well, what happens is you consume whatever that beverage is or whatever the food is. And now how would I say, that food or that liquid then goes looking for electrons to take to repair itself while it's being ingested by your body. So it actually ends up taking away the energy, the very electrons from your atoms, you see. Especially considering that you also have to break this stuff, like you have to break it down. But if it's not giving you life, well, then it's taking away life from you, and that's exactly what this stuff does. When you're looking at a beverage of the beer variety, that's what you were talking about, was the beer, you're looking at an ORP of plus 350, pretty much guaranteed across all brands, up to about plus 550, which is crazy, man. That means that there is absolutely 0 electrons in the beverage, and it is coming for your atoms. It's coming for your electrons to steal the electrons from your body, and you need the electrons in your body to heal yourself. Cellular voltage. Dr. Jerry Tennant. Search him up, search up his research, and see that you need an electrical charge in your cells in order to heal anything in your body. And he's actually broken it down in a scale where you can see that depending on where you are in the positive or negative range of an electrical charge, you want to be negatively charged, depending on where you are, you will reach a state of tiredness, you will reach a state of sickness, you will reach a state of disease, you will reach a state of cancer, then you will die. Or you can be in health, you can be in extreme recovery, you can be in superhuman mode, basically. So this is another thing wrong with drinking beer. And on the opposite, another reason why I bought the machine is because it's giving my body all of the tools that it needs to repair whatever was going on inside of me. Like, man, I have this other kid that works at the same job that I'm working at. He might actually even come on the podcast. He's a really cool guy. Anyways, why did I just bring him up? Drinking the beer, drinking the water. Okay, I don't remember, so I'm gonna just continue on with how beer is horrible for you. All alcohol is horrible for you. All these sports beverages are horrible for you. Yeah, I'm sorry, but every single sports beverage is horrible for you, man. They're all acidic. They're all packed with sugars. And even the ones that are zero sugar, they have aspartame in them. And if they do have aspartame in them, do you know what aspartame does to you? And if you don't know what aspartame does to you, go and search it up. But you got to realize that they're acidic in their nature as well, and they are also in the positive ORP range. And another factor that is extremely important to me about especially the carbonated beverages is, well, how are they carbonated? With carbon dioxide, which is what your body is expelling every time that you exhale. But now you're putting that waste product of the body, which, yes, it goes on to feed the trees and everything, but you should not be breathing that stuff in. And there has been enough studies done about people wearing masks all these years and the carbon dioxide poisoning that they've received and how it's been damaging their bodies. And now I'm not going to get deep into that and the whole, I don't even know what to call it without getting rigged here, without getting flagged. So if you understand that the last, let me say, what has it been, 5-6 years have been complete bullshit and just a control plot enacted upon by the governments and the corporations of the world, then, you know, we're on the same page, because it was absolute bullshit, man. And I'm willing to have that conversation with anybody, anytime. Anyways, so this is another problem with it. You're consuming the waste product of your body. You're putting it back in your body, and it's just not good for you, plain and simply. So on top of that, you know what? Now I'm going to flip it over to the water and why I started drinking the water. And this isn't the reason why I brought up that kid before, but he actually became interested in trying the water because of what I had been saying about it. And he had actually gotten curious and started asking me really in-depth questions about it. And we had a huge conversation about it. And he tried the water for 3 weeks. This kid had, I don't know what you call it. It's a type of acne. It's like a really severe acne that he's had for years. Within those 3 weeks, it wasn't completely gone, but all of the redness from the acne, like there was a massive difference. I'll ask him actually if I could even maybe post a picture of it in this video to just show a difference, the difference that it created in his life without him actually having access to the fresh water, because I'm traveling from one city 2.5 hours away to bring the water there, which means it's already losing its off-gassing is what we call it. It's off-gassing its electrical charge potential by the time it gets to him, but it's still creating that much change. I'm telling you, this stuff is amazing, man, when you get into the science of it. And when you get into the experience of it, because he actually gave me the testimonial that me giving him Kangen water is one of the best things that has ever happened to him in his life. That the energy he's felt has been unlike anything that he's ever felt, the focus and all of this different stuff. And it's just, this is what happens to anybody who starts to drink the water. You should hear my wife's testimonial about it. And, you know, one day I'll give my testimonial about it too. But where was I going with this? So essentially, look, everything that I mentioned about the drinking of the beer, well, what happens to us when we drink beer? Have you ever been hungover before? The reason that you're getting hungover is because your body is extremely dehydrated and it's in a very acidic state now. And so, you know, the only real hangover cure is water, is electrically charged water, not just electrically charged water, but properly filtered water. If you want the best, electrolyzed, reduced, ionized water is what you're looking for. And this is why I purchased the Kangen machine, regardless of how expensive it was. I just did a payment plan, man. I brought the cost down per month. I realized that the investment was worth it, and so I bought the machine. Just like anybody who understands the information that I've been providing in this video is probably thinking, fuck, how do I get one of those? Just ask me about it, man, because this is another beautiful thing about it, is as soon as you buy one of the machines, they actually have their own patented model, business model attached to it. And this is why their slogan is change your water, change your life, because yes, it will also change your very health, but you now also immediately have the option to sell machines if you want to, because when you go to when you go to give the water to a family member and they start to change their health and they go, holy shit, man, can I get one of these? How do I get one of these? Well, then all of a sudden, that person who would have to buy a machine anyways can get it from you. And then you get part of your machine paid for. And it takes about 10 referrals to get your entire machine paid for. I mean, it's a fantastic business model, man. And so anyways, where I was going with it is when you're hungover, your body is extremely dehydrated and it's in an acidic state. Well, this is how most people are living all the time. And they just don't even realize that they feel like shit all the time because they've never actually experienced a true state of health before. But then you start to give them the proper water that, if you listen to Gerald Pollack, who is another genius when it comes to water, that man suggests that we're over 90%, possibly 99% water. And I'm pretty sure everybody could agree on the fact that we're at least 75% water. And if you actually look into each of your specific organs, each one of them has a percentage of it, which is mostly water. Like most of your organs are over 80% water, man. And you're telling me that there is absolutely no effect taking place inside of your body when you're consuming the water that's full of the poison, that's acidic, and that has a, how do I say, it's not microclustered. It's the molecules are too clustered together, and they're actually too big to pass through what are known as the aquaporins, discovered in 2005 by Dr. Agre, another Nobel Prize winner. That they're too big to actually enter into your cells. Like, yes, you'll get some water into your cells, but you will not get nearly the amount of electrolyzed, reduced, ionized water because it separates the water molecules to make them tiny microclusters that can actually penetrate into the cells and hydrate you properly. All of us walking around this world, man, we're basically like SpongeBob without his fucking water helmet on inside of Sandy's dome. If you are not drinking the proper water, and I'm not just talking about filtered water, which yes, will make a big difference, but taking it to the level of getting electrolyzed, reduced, ionized water will change everything you ever thought about life, man. Because not only does it return the body to a state of health, but it will decalcify your pineal gland, your third eye, your center of truth, your center of greater awareness, your center of inner knowing. And there is absolutely nothing in the world that's equivalent to the value of having your third eye unlocked, man. I would easily pay the $7,000 for a Conga machine or whatever it is now again. And I will buy another machine. And I'm going to get the shower unit as well because there's a shower unit as well. So anyways, that argument of quality over quantity. Well, I'm still alive. It hasn't killed me yet. Yeah, but you're basically living dead, man. You don't know what it's like to experience true health because you've never actually put the measures in place of drinking the proper water, of eating the proper foods, of thinking the proper thoughts, of moving your body in the proper ways, doing yoga, and doing the exercises and doing all these things. If you're not doing that, you literally cannot argue that your choices about life are better than someone who is taking care of themselves. Like, how ridiculous is that? It's a ridiculous argument. And it's okay to let your guard down, and just say, hey, that sounds kind of cool. I'm willing to experience better for myself. But we, it's a part of our conditioning not to love ourselves. And when you don't love yourself, you're not going to care whether or not you're putting the right things inside of your body. And see, another consequence of doing this, though, I really didn't want to make this longer than the 22 minutes. Another consequence of putting the right stuff in your body, especially the water, is that you will become so much more aware because now your body is able to harness a greater state of consciousness. You see, because the water that we're normally drinking, because there is no electricity in the water, the minerals, okay, hold on. Because there is no electricity in the water, all of the molecules are stuck together, which means that the minerals that are inside of the water that your body needs also cannot properly penetrate the cells, which means that the food inside of your body also isn't being properly broken down, so you're not absorbing the proper nutrients from your foods. When you start to consume water that is electrically charged, that still has, and your water actually needs the minerals inside of it in order to retain an electrical charge. So this is very important to note as well. When you're consuming water that's electrically charged, that's microclustered, that has the minerals inside of you, well, then all of a sudden, the rest of your body, the rest of your body's water is able to become electrically charged because you're actually filled with the proper minerals and an electrical charge, which means that the signal you receive and send out to reality for creating your greatest life is enhanced by so many multiplications. I honestly, I don't know. But for one thing, I can tell you is that your brain, your focus, your clarity, your cognitive capabilities in all aspects of thought, of doing, everything will improve. But if you're somebody who's very spiritual, this is something that you've got to do for yourself, man. I'm not saying that you have to go out and buy a Kangen machine. I will tell you right now that if you want me to link some, say, Dr. Michael Donaldson, for example, who does a breakdown of all the other ionizers and shows you that they're all basically garbage, trying to imitate Kangen, but just can't. Kangen is the king. They're the absolute king of the water ionizer game. If you go out and you want the best of the best, then yes, get Kangen water. Talk to me about it. I will help you get one. But you can start doing things for your water for free as well. You can filter your water. And, you could go to clearlyfiltered.com and get one of their $70 filters, and you can actually take out 99% of the contaminants in your water. And that's a great place to start, man. Start there. You don't have to spend the $80, $100, whatever it would be for you a month for however long to get a Kangen machine. You don't have to do that right away. You can go and get one that's $70 and see how that benefits you. And then start to consider, holy shit, well, if this has really done this much for me, I wonder what that Kangen machine is capable of. That's the route that I went, actually, was I started off with the clearly filtered, and then I wanted more. I wanted to know more about water and more about feeling great, and that's what led me to it. And as well, sea salt. Sea salt and Himalayan salt contain the essential minerals that your body needs, that your bone structure needs to stay strong. Just in a tiny little crystal. If you take a tiny little crystal, start by having 2 to 3 a day. If you want more information about this, search up Barbara O'Neill and realize that this guy right here isn't just coming to you with bullshit. He's coming to you with facts supported by expert researchers and people who've been in their fields for their entire lives. Have 2 to 3 pieces of just a tiny little crystal of that sea salt or Himalayan salt every day to get your minerals up, man. Because another problem we have in our world is that our soil is poisoned. There is a soil crisis, if you haven't heard of it yet. And that means that our food that we are eating, the food that the animals are eating, which means that the animals, if you're a meat eater and you're if you consume animal products, none of our food has the proper minerals or vitamins anymore because our soil is so contaminated from all the pesticides that have been dumped on them by the I bring up the pharmaceutical companies because they're really all just a giant cartel. But really, the big agriculture is what those guys are called. Poison our soil, man. Food doesn't have the same quality of nutrients as it used to. So, there's a couple things you can do for yourself right away. Is you can go out and get a cheaper filter, and you can see the benefit that will bring you. And then you can also start taking the sea salt or the Himalayan salt every day, 2 to 3 times a day, and then increase as you become more adjusted to having the minerals back in your body. Another thing that you can do is consciously program your water, my friend. And this cannot be understated. Dr. Masaru Emoto's work, and if you want See, a lot of people call him a pseudoscientist, and that's bullshit. Go and check out Veda Austin, who has verified his work and who's been able to replicate his work and shows you how to do it if you want to do it yourself, and has a great Instagram page of showing you that that water contains memory, that water can be influenced by consciousness. Which means that, for example, if instead of just having a glass of water straight from the tap, if you fill it up in a jug and you put it in the fridge overnight, for example, and you put a cymatic disc underneath of it. And man, it's so deep. It's so deep. And I got to actually go look into buying a cymatic disc. They're not very expensive. They're just these little discs that basically have a frequency attached to them that the disc emanates this frequency that it's programmed with, which can go into your water and begin to change the structure of your water. But then as well, you can also send your conscious intention to your water to change the structure of your water. And all of this stuff is possible, man. And it's all necessary if you actually want to experience a higher state of consciousness, a higher state of joy, a higher experience, like just a greater experience of life. So with that being said, I do got to go. I hope you gain some kind of value from this. If you're interested in the Kong machine, please let me know and I'll help you get one set up. If you're interested in any of the other information, maybe about the clearly filtered, what does it actually do? I can lead you to the right resources if you want to know more about the sea salt and everything. I'm going to include everybody in the description who I've mentioned as well, and maybe even attach one of their videos or something to back up everything that I've said, just so you guys can see as well from their perspective. And then look, now you're also gaining access to other great teachers who've done great research. So all around, it's cool, right? Yeah, anyways, I hope you have the best day ever. You know that I love you guys so much, and this is why I do this, because I want you to experience the greatest life you possibly can. And with that being said, cheers.